All right. Well, I think we're live and ready to go. And great to see everyone. This is, as I mentioned, new technology today. So, hey, look, when you're talking about hot new strategies, you might as well try one. So, hopefully, everything works out. And today we're going to talk about strategies to grow your law firm. Of course, 10 Golden Rules is a digital marketing agency, but we've been broadening out into growth strategies, and we'll share a little bit more about that as we get into it. So one of the hottest things going on is a really significant change in Google. So obviously, if that's if that changes things, that changes about 80% of the traffic to most websites. We're also going to talk about one of the hottest social medias, and something funny is going on at the very top of Google in the local service ads, and we're going to dissect that and give you a strategy to deal with it. So just give me a G in the chat. Let me figure out where the chat is here. If you're a Google gangster, and if you think you're like super good at this stuff, put a G in the chat. And if you're just figuring it out, you're kind of halfway there. And if you know Ken Hardison, take a screenshot of this and send it to Ken and tell him he was featured on our webinar, and put an F in the chat. And finally, if you're kind of confused, if you think all this new technology is over your head, but you're jumping in to find out, put a C in the chat. Thank you so much. All right. Congratulations. The folks who show up at these events, the folks who participate in conferences and online training and online sessions are way ahead of everybody else. And I can tell you that because we've probably coached over 200 law firms and over 1,000 businesses at this point in our company's history. And the people who try and get better, the people who read books, listen to podcasts, go to webinars, and attend conferences are clearly in the top 10%. So congratulations to you for being in the top 10%. Now, every week at 10 Golden Rules, we tell the joke of the week. So here's a pretty sophisticated lawyer one. What is a lawyer's favorite chocolate bar? Hearsay's legal chocolate? Legal term? Joke there? Hershey's. Okay. If you're a note taker and you like to get the slides, just scan this. And if you're watching this sometime in the future, you can scan this or go to 10goldenrules.com/hot trends, 2 T's, hot trends. And you can get a copy of some of the slides and some of the how-tos on some of the newer things, the hottest trends in legal marketing. And if you're sort of falling off the Google cliff, sometimes we see this chart with your SEO scores, or your Google Maps are not quite as good as this one. If things are down and you want to get a free report, reach out to us at 10 Golden Rules, or send me a note on LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever streaming service you're on right now, and we'll get with you and develop a free report for how you're ranking in your market. So my mission today is to go through the 7 hottest trends to help grow your law firm. I'm going to give you some basics, some building blocks. If you're not doing a lot of these things, we'll give you the basic steps and how to get started. If you're the Google gangster, we'll give you some advanced tips. That was Cassidy, by the way, from Cooper Hurley. We'll give you some advanced tips, hopefully for Cassidy and her friends. I'm going to share with you the best ChatGPT prompt and some AI strategies, and I'll give you a quick intro, a little bit about me. So I'm Jay Berkowitz. I grew up in beautiful Winnipeg, Canada, and it looks like this right now. But most of the year, it looks more like this, and the duck pond turns into a skating rink. We got super lucky. My beautiful wife and Parker moved to beautiful Boca Raton about 24 years ago, and we live in sunny South Florida. Early in my career, I got to work on some amazing brands. Coca-Cola. This was the famous Mean Joe Green commercial. And I worked for McDonald's restaurants, both on the ad agency side and as a director of marketing. And so I sold some of the most delicious, high-fat foods in the entire world and went directly from selling, sugar water and Big Macs to ediets.com, an online diet site. And we were a startup based down here in South Florida, and we were able to grow the company to $60 million in revenue, and had a really tremendous experience in the very early days of the internet. I mean, this was 2002, 2003, and we were sending 100,000 people or more to our website every day doing all kinds of A/B testing, building a huge email database, and really doing very sophisticated internet marketing back in 2003, 2002. And at that time, I wrote a presentation and a book called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And so that became my signature presentation. I did that presentation probably 100 times over the years. And over the years, I've written some new books. And this new book is coming out this year called Advanced Internet Marketing for Law Firms. Our company is called 10 Golden Rules, and we do internet marketing for law firms and growth strategies. So we help coach you with some other areas of the business. We'll talk about those today. Our YouTube channel is absolutely blown up, over 1 million views. So if you like this style of training, we've got I don't know about 6 years times 12 months worth of training on there, and weekly podcasts as well with some of the most excellent guests in the entire legal industry. We work with some amazing clients all across the country on legal marketing, and that's sort of our bread and butter at 10 Golden Rules. And so without further ado, let's get into the 7 hottest strategies for law firm growth. And I was showing this slide for about a year, and this is a regular search for Tom Brady, and you see, some images, his X profile, Wikipedia, and then this is Google Labs. And one of the things that's cool about Google is they show you what they're working on. So this is Google Labs, and we saw the first iteration of Google's version of ChatGPT, something they're now calling AI overviews. And the AI overviews went live. They just started dripping them out in May of 2024. Now they're showing them in about 30% of results all across different types of searches. So this is Google's AI or artificial intelligence search result. Again, they call it AI overviews, and it's a lot like a ChatGPT result where Google's answering the question right at the top of the page. If you click Show More, you can see additional websites that Google used to compile the answer. So this is the first hot trend or hot opportunity. We can get listed in these AI overviews. And it's challenging because if Google's answering the question, some of the time, about half the time, the person's going to be satisfied with Google's answer. But half the time, they're going to want to do more research. So how do we get ourselves listed in this brand new real estate on Google? And this is our client, Jeff McDonald. And for Virginia Construction Accident Lawyer, their website was used to compile the AI answer, and they're the number 2 SEO result on that page. So we're going to talk about how we do that. How do you get listed in these Google AI overviews and get these super powerful links? Now, the reason why I'm focused on Google and not focused on ChatGPT and Google's little sister, YouTube, is together they're about 19.7 billion searches a day. ChatGPT is only 1.1 billion, which is huge. They're growing like crazy, but it's only about 5% of the size of Google. So our focus today is going to be mostly on Google, but we'll talk a little bit about how you get listed in ChatGPT. Another way of looking at that data is Google's, by far and away the 800-pound gorilla on the internet. When you consider that the 2 sites they own is, I think, 135 billion visits a month. I think this is a monthly number. And then Facebook's 9, but ChatGPT is growing to about 4 billion visits a month. In the old days, we did SEO, and we still do SEO, search engine optimization, trying to get our websites and importantly, our Google Maps coming up right at the top of search. But today we're doing something a little different, and it's called AEO, Answer Engine Optimization. And if you think about these new LLMs or large language models, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, what's the other one? Copilot, all these new tools. Essentially, well, and obviously Google's Gemini. These are all engines that are designed to answer questions. And frankly, Google is an answer engine as well. So one of the mindset shifts we're having as an industry is how do we come up in the answers to AEO, in these AEO answers, okay? How do we get listed on the side here? And quickly, one prediction, I like to try and see the future in Google now that I've been studying it so closely for the last 25 years, is right now Google is showing us really great free ChatGPT style answers. And ChatGPT is charging us $20 or $200 a month, depending which product you buy. And my prediction is Google is trying to teach us, to reteach us. You don't have to go to ChatGPT to get a really good AI answer. And in the future, like if you see here, Google slides in a sponsored ad in the old Maps 3-pack. So my prediction is Google's going to start sliding in ads in those AI answers. And it's got to happen, because think of it, Google's search business is about $250 billion a year. So they do have a paid ad up here, and there's all kinds of different configurations we're going to see out there. But I think this is something we're all going to be focused on very, very quickly, is doing pay-per-click optimization in some shape or format when Google brings it. Another question is, I said that about half the time Google shows an AI overview answer, they're showing that they're answering the question for us, and we don't go to another website. So the question is, where are those other 10% of cases coming from? And we'll talk a little bit about that today. Also, AEO, Answer Engine Optimization for ChatGPT. This is my buddy Spencer Ehrenfeld. If you know Spencer, take a screenshot of this, send it to him. And this is the first lawyer website I saw on ChatGPT. They had super lawyers and Avo and things like that that helped compile the ChatGPT answer. So like Google AI overviews, they're showing their homework. They're showing the websites they used to compile the result. Likely some of this was because of some trademark or patent infringements that ChatGPT was getting sued with, because they were using internet information from private websites to compile their answers. So now everybody's just showing the links to where they got their results. Now, another thing to appreciate about these AI overviews is the cycle of search. And in our marketing industry, we typically use a term called the funnel, the marketing funnel. And so typically this is an example of the early stages of research. So the cycle of search. So when you're just looking for a lawyer, you're asking a question like, I was in a car accident. Do I need a lawyer? And then we might see that AI overview result. Most frequently, we'll see the AI overview result. Then we get a little bit more interested. Oh, okay, if I get a lawyer, I might get more money from the insurance company. What's the average settlement? And then our final search might be, who's the best car accident attorney in Miami? And now we're ready to select an attorney. And Google's going to show a more typical or the results we're more used to 6 months ago, where they'll show the LSAs, the local service ads, Google screened, pay-per-click, the 3-pack, the maps. People also ask, and then SEO further down the page. So our opportunity is really at the top of the funnel. So how do we get there? The first strategy is to answer questions. Because think of it like we search differently. 5 years ago, you used to have to be very specific, like personal injury attorney near me, right? And then Google got more sophisticated because the way we search got more sophisticated. We started using Siri and Alexa and Google Voice, and we're asking questions, right? So Google rewrote their algorithms to understand human language or semantics. So what we started doing to proact this, our AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, is answering questions and posting that on YouTube. Google owns YouTube and the websites. So again, here's Jeff McDonald answering, what happens if I get hit by an Uber? And we search engine optimize that on YouTube by adding the video to YouTube, adding titles, descriptions, tags that answer the question. And literally the name of the video is the question. So we're doing AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, by doing it on YouTube, which is closely tied to Google and the algorithm for SEO. Then we use the video on a blog on the website. We also are going to use those videos very cost effectively in social media. And those things also link back to the algorithm. You could put it in a newsletter, and we use it in Google Maps. Very important. Again, all these Google products are connected and associated, and the algorithm is connected for sure. So answering questions is a great part of the strategy. Here's an example of another result for Jeff. Another example for this is it worth suing after a car accident? Here's our client, Brian Garrett. He has the best answer in the world, according to Google. in that people also ask section. And we've got a nice clean page. Is it worth suing after a car accident? We've got a video. Is it worth suing after a car accident? And a page with content about the answer in addition. So Google can read the words that you say in the video, but we've added that to that section. The second strategy is to become an authority. And something we're seeing in these algorithms, the ChatGPT algorithm, the Google Gemini algorithm, is that Jay Berkowitz has a better chance to come up on those answers than 10 golden rules. Or Brian Garrett, the attorney, as an expert, has a better chance than Brian Garrett law firm. And we're starting to see this type of result. Something interesting, here's how do I choose a car accident attorney? We've got the AI overview, couple SEO results. The videos are back. So I don't know about you, but I saw the videos a lot 5 or 6 years ago. And that's when we started doing videos with our clients, answering questions. And then they seem to come out of the general answers. And there's a huge amount of search that goes on YouTube, but they stopped showing them in Google. Now they're really profiling this expert type of positioning. So when you answer questions, and also in Reddit, in Quora, so the individual and the company has an opportunity to position as an expert and not only be found on the searches, but also very important in this AI overviews algorithm. My friend Jeff Hampton, he spoke at TGR Live last year, and there's a video on our YouTube channel with Jeff explaining his long form YouTube strategy. And you see here, Jeff's got 473,000 subscribers. His top video has been viewed 6.8 million times. So this is a study put out by a company called Profound, and they shared the key insight. What are the top resources for the top LLMs? And so Reddit, how do you get listed in Google AI overviews? So the number one resource is Reddit and video platforms, Reddit and YouTube. Reddit's about 22%, YouTube's about 19% of the search results. ChatGPT is pulling on Wikipedia and Reddit, and Perplexity is looking at community content like Reddit. So how are we going to get listed? Well, we're going to create a Reddit profile. So it seems to be very important in a lot of the data that's coming out today. And Reddit is basically just like a question and answer engine, as is Quora. So we're going to go out there, we're going to answer questions and be helpful. You don't want to be salesy, you want to be super helpful in these platforms, because otherwise you get downvoted and kicked out. So you just want to be super helpful and position yourself as an expert and answer these questions. We do press articles. We get positioned in PR with links to our clients' websites as the experts in these articles. Also getting in industry publications. So a link to your website from a highly ranked industry site positions you as an expert. You can get on other people's podcasts. Matter of fact, our podcast ranks very, very well for people's names. Charlie Mann, great guy, another TGR Live speaker, spoke at our annual conference, and we interviewed him on our podcast and webinar. And you see that we, after his LinkedIn and his Instagram, we're the number 3 result for his name. Dave Thomas. Everybody knows Big Dave from Law Tigers at the conferences. Law Tigers ad, Law Tigers website, LinkedIn, and then our interview with Dave on our podcast. Tim Sawyer from Faster Outcomes, also been on the podcast and the webinar, and we're ranking for Tim's name on search. Here's a great one. If you haven't heard of Source of Sources, check out my friend Peter Shankman's product. And these are media looking for experts. So here's a post, and then you can reply to Natalia Bratton, and she's looking for business owners, AI lessons learned and wins, and we could all provide that content. So the second strategy is become an expert. The first strategy, answer questions. The third strategy is what you can do on your website. So obviously in answering questions, you want to cover topics comprehensively and put a detailed answer in the first paragraph, 45 to 50 words, answering questions. Bulleted lists seem to come up a lot in those results. Go and rehash your frequently asked questions section and answer questions. Become part of the local community. Local links, .gov links, are very, very good. So that first section is about optimizing your website, your SEO, your personal expertise as an expert to answer questions. The second hottest strategy is video. And I teased that a minute ago with our friend Jeff Hampton. And, Jeff's got this killer site getting about 20 million views a month now, 435,000 subscribers. I think we saw that number's up a little bit. And why is YouTube so hot? Well, we saw a minute ago, it's the number 2 website. 92% of people weekly look at a YouTube video, 5 billion daily views, average viewership 19 minutes and 35 seconds. It's great for SEO, and it's also great for retargeting. So if somebody watches your YouTube videos, you can show them ads because you know that they're interested in your topic. So long form video, that's basically what we started out with our YouTube channel. We started out with our 1 hour or 1.5 hour sessions like this one, our webinars, our live training sessions. We put the recordings on our YouTube channel. And so the long form content worked really well. Essentially, people are watching 9.5 minutes on average of our videos. So some people are watching like the entire hour. Some people are watching 30 seconds. But when you have a long average viewership, the algorithm rewards you and people are watching it. Something else that's super hot is shorts. And so we've started cutting short sound bites, a minute, 2 minutes long from our webinars and from our podcast, and also doing, clever little shorts with some of our clients, some of the trending topics, and just quick question and answers. And finally, we do the SEO videos that I talked about earlier, where we're answering questions, and literally the title is in the form of a question. Should I go to the hospital after a Florida car accident has had 34,000 views? So some of the building blocks, the basic stuff for YouTube, you want to define a channel strategy and get your branding, looking really good, have a nice visual identity. Then every video has to start with a compelling hook. Did they raise your insurance rates? You got to catch people instantaneously, or we're all the same. We'll just scroll down to the next video. And then great thumbnails that really stand out on the page are super valuable. Interesting visual settings are helpful. Again, if you catch people's eye, here's an attorney sitting in his living room. Edit images and B-roll. So in this video, we edited some video of a chiropractor's office, and come up and add the text for important prompts in the videos. Jeff Hampton recommends not boosting the videos at all. So ideally, if you can build some traffic without doing any advertising, curated longer topics, hooks at the start, scripts and a tease, so you can tease the next video. And so you can basically be telling a story as you're going along. This next video end card feature, so here's, and in my next video, I'm going to teach you blah, 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 is very, very valuable. And then you can categorize a little bit by playlists. For the shorts, some of the things you want to do, I mentioned the great hooks, the captions. This is what's called a sort of ride-along type of video, where he's a reaction video, where this is Brian Garrett, he's watching a video of a car accident and explaining what the folks did wrong in the video. You want to have the fast edits, the sort of TikTok style edits, and jump on hot trends. So like this one is a reaction video. A listicle is the top 3 mistakes. Of course, I'm a lawyer. Of course, I'm a doctor. Self-improvement tips are sort of hot right now. We talked about asking and answering questions that people also ask. And these are our SEO videos. So answer questions people are asking before they hire a lawyer. What steps should I take following an accident on someone else's property? Include the question in the video, the title, and the keywords in the description, and come up with a catchy, captivating thumbnail, that image at the start of a video. Another way to get good questions to answer is to track questions you get asked in intake. I tell the attorneys all the time, write down a list of the top 10 questions you get asked. Keep a list for the next 2 weeks of everything your prospects ask you when they call or come in to see you. You can use Google Suggest. So, do I need a lawyer if I was rear rear-ended, got rear-ended, should I get a lawyer if I got rear-ended, can a lawyer charge you without telling you, all the questions. Google is suggesting us other things that people search. And then we also create videos for keywords we want to target. So if you're on page 2 in a Google search for a keyword and you do a video and a video blog and a YouTube about that keyword, you have a much better chance to optimize your website for that keyword. A couple advanced tips. You can use tools like Opus Clip or Descript to generate 2 or 3 shorts from long form videos. So this is an example of one of our short form videos that came from one of these webinar format long videos. And then you want to look at your metrics, your views, your watch time, and that's available in the back end of YouTube. Keep your titles short, clear, concise, and eye-catching, and make the descriptions long with lots of keywords and calls to action. Record videos from the People Also Ask section. So this is a tip. Google's saying, here's things we get asked all the time. If you can answer those questions and use the exact words in the title in the first 5 seconds of the video. So, strategy number 1, AEO, answer engine optimization. Hot strategy number 2, video. Hot strategy number 3, conversion. Do we have any Big Bang fans in the house? This was the dream sequence when Raj met Siri live and in person. If you're a Big Bang fan, you get it. But she's here posing today as an intake specialist for our conversion slide. The first thing I want to share with you is conversion optimization can make a huge difference in your business. A lot of times our clients are always like, we need more leads. We need more leads. Well, that's half of it, because the other half of it is you've got to convert the leads you get better. And there's ways you do that on the website, and there's ways you do that in the intake department. We'll talk about it. So this is a website redesign we did for Jeff McDonald. We mentioned Jeff a couple times today. And in the old website, we had a big form right at the top of the website. And a lot of people filled out the form. So in this about a 3-month period, in 23, we got 467 calls. With the new website design, we took the form off the page. We made the phone number and the, just call Jeff, literally in the headline, prominent, and put a click to call button, obviously very important in the mobile. We got 1,290 calls in the same time period. That's a 176% increase. And we got a 44% increase in cases from the web. And you see that this website is clearly designed to capture phone calls. And once you get someone on the phone, you have a much higher chance of converting them than when they fill out a form on your website and you call them back an hour later. They don't even answer the phone because they don't know what number is calling them. I mean, we all get tons of spam calls all day, every day. So it's very hard to get people back on the phone when they fill out a form on your website. So we see here how the calls went crazy with the new website design. The second strategy is to optimize intake is a technology we've developed called TGR Boomerang. And this is a proprietary technology we developed at 10 Golden Rules. TGR is short for 10 Golden Rules. And every time you miss a phone call, and believe me, every firm misses phone calls, because a lot of times, like on the local service ads, people click to call and they hear the recording, the Google recording. This call is being recorded by Google. And they hang up. So everybody misses phone calls. Even if your intake is perfect 24/7, they pick it up on the first ring. You're going to miss calls because people are going to hear that recording before it rings in your call center. So what we do with TGR Boomerang, we can capture that data in the Google system and instantly text it to your intake department. And they can call those folks right back. Hey, were you looking for an attorney? Also, when someone fills out a form on your website, we grab that data from the form, send that text to your intake department to call them right away. So this is a great tool to help you maximize your conversion. All of these missed leads and form fills have a much higher likelihood if you call them back right away. We can also use our software to confirm appointments and text and email reminders to folks to sign that DocuSign or come in for a meeting with the doctor. The next thing that helps optimize your intake, I always like to quote my friend and mentor, Josh Nelson. He says, what gets measured gets attention and improves. And the more precise we are with measuring the intake activities and the more training and focus we share with the intake teams, the better the results. So one of the things we do is we capture all of the leads, we send them over to our clients. In this case, these are the leads for Brian Garrett again in Oklahoma. And we see all of these are the clients that were signed, and these are the clients that didn't sign. And then we come up with a monthly form, and we see here how many of the calls. So typically, as I mentioned this earlier, calls are going to convert much higher than form fills, right? Like only 5% of web forms converted, 24% of calls became clients. And over time, we went from 30, 37, 26 to 43, 51 clients retained in a month. But the message here is that we're tracking everything, we're optimizing the programs that work, we're retraining and training the intake folks in the areas where we can improve. I promised you a great chat GPT prompt, and this is my favorite. Great book I recommend by Jeff Woods called The AI Driven Leader. And he talks about CRIT. Actually, Jeff spoke to our mastermind and he said it this way. He said, write this down, put it on a yellow sticky, and stick it on your computer. So I've had this on my computer for about 4 months now. I highly recommend you write this down. CRIT, context, role, interview, and task. I'll explain how it works. So we've developed a pretty sophisticated system to help our clients with intake. So the context is I'm going to ask a GPT, and you can do this with any of the large language models, but make sure you do it with the paid version. Don't put this stuff out in the public domain. So we did this with a private GPT that we developed. So the context is we're going to do an analysis of calls received by a personal injury call center. Then you assign a role to the AI. So you're going to be the world's leading expert on an intake consultant. And you're going to use the attached recordings and references to compile your expertise. So we have a tremendous amount of data and expertise around intake. We've done private training for clients. We've had intake experts on our stage at TGR Live. We've had additional recordings and data that we've provided to our clients. So we provided all of this information to make this GPT the world's leading expert intake consultant for attorneys. And then the next thing is interview. Ask me 3 to 5 separate questions to clarify your role. So I'm asking the AI to clarify what I want it to do. And it's amazing. It asks great questions like, you can't believe these, within seconds, you get questions like the world's smartest consultant would have asked you. And finally, complete the task. We uploaded several, 100 phone calls and said, prepare a summary of what this intake team does well and what they can improve, and a program to retrain the team. And it's fantastic what they came back with. Key areas for improvement, no sales mindset. None of the calls exhibited urgency. Callers were allowed to end the call without being retained. Train the agents to use empathy anchors. We'll call you back if it's something we could help with. Showed zero urgency or rapport. No closing language, no retainer sent. And, it even suggested a new script and a training program. And you can print it out as a PDF to give to the training team. It's amazingly powerful. So we've developed with our expertise and our AI programming and the call recordings a tremendous tool for our clients. Next hot trend. So we finished the first 3. I started seeing this, I mentioned earlier, at the very top of Google, something funny going on. Almost every market where Morgan & Morgan is in operation, I started seeing them at the top of the LSAs. Here is, John Morgan with Jeff Phillips. Hey, shout out to Jeff. If you guys know Jeff, take a screenshot. Great guy in Phoenix. And here's Morgan & Morgan with Jeff Phillips. And I see the same thing in Philadelphia, and I'd see the same thing in South Florida. One of my buddies is a solo attorney down here, and here he is with the biggest guy in the country and a solo attorney coming up at the very top of Google. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, Morgan & Morgan has the biggest budget. And that's part of it, but it's not the way the local service ads work. There's a very comprehensive algorithm that gets you placed at the very top of the LSAs. And you can't buy your way there. You have to get check marks in all 6 areas of what we call our secret algorithm. So the answer I came up with is it's his brand. Like if we go back here and, you recognize Morgan & Morgan because they're $450 million annual ad budget, and you don't recognize the other guy, you're more likely to click to call John Morgan. So the fourth trend I'm suggesting is brand. Now, the bad news is none of the firms we deal with have the $450 million budget of Morgan & Morgan. But the good news is there's a lot you can do to support your brand. So what's in that LSA secret algorithm? Well, one of the top things is the click-through rate. So again, Morgan is getting recognized and he's getting the clicks. The second thing is your review score. So you have to have 1 to 2 new Google reviews per week, and you've got to have a 4 or 5 star Google review. Your response time, you've got to answer the phone. You've got to never miss any calls. You've got to get into the back end of the LSA and disposition quickly, and you've got to be close to the location of the search. So that's what compiles that algorithm. But this section's about brand, and there was a big leak of Google's algorithm last year, and a lot of the experts who, I didn't read the 7,000 pages of this leak, they said that a big takeaway was that brand matters more than anything else. So we can't spend the $450 million that Morgan & Morgan spends, but we can make our brand communications as efficient as possible. So step number 1, an exercise we do with all our clients, is we pick a brand meaning and brand message. Because a lot of times we meet a client and they're all over the place. The website has one slogan and another main headline on the website. The Facebook page has something different. The LinkedIn has something different. Their billboard, something different again. So while you can't compete on dollars, you can compete on brand consistency and brand meaning. So I would just recommend you pick one of these. So, you can be the no fees unless we win guy. You can be the big check guy. You can be the community gal. You can be the we fight the insurance brokers. We're the best in court. But what I would recommend is pick one that resonates with you as a company. Pick one that resonates with your brand and is a fit for you and your staff and your team and what you're seen as in the marketplace. And then be super consistent with that. This young attorney in Miami actually changed her last name to Demanda, because it rhymes with Amanda, but it also means legal demand and lawsuit. And so she also developed a very consistent brand message. So everywhere you see Amanda Demanda is a very consistent representation of her brand, and she figured out who they are, what they stand for, and her brand is even consistently delivered on stage. That's a picture I took of her at a conference. John Barry's a great attorney, and he does a lot of veterans disability stuff nationally and personal injury locally. And everything they do is consistently represented with their veterans support for veterans brand. If they do community activities, the benefits go to support veterans. So be super consistent. Here's Cooper Hurley, injury lawyers. I mentioned Cassidy earlier. Shout out to Jim and John. And they've picked a new brand message, the car crash experts. And you see that very clearly delineated on their TikTok, on their LinkedIn, on their X profile. So quick mini brand workshop. Define your law firm brand. Answer 3 questions. Who are you? What's your identity? Are you the bulldog, the neighbor, the guide? We make the process simple. What do you stand for? Justice, helping the injured recover dignity, taking down greedy insurance companies. And how will you prove it? Pick 3 ways to make your values visible. With consistent visual identity across all platforms, stories in your video testimonials and YouTube, and your community presence. So be super consistent with your advertising and marketing, what you say in your videos, what your testimonials say about you, and your community presence. Create a brand logo guide. Use the logo and slogan consistently everywhere it appears. Have consistent visual identity, the same logo, fonts, and colors. Script even your intake team, your staff training, your signature on your emails. So everything should be super consistent with your brand. So next up, I'm going to talk about the concierge. And I think everybody's familiar, hopefully everybody in this audience has been to a 5-star hotel. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. At least book a lunch at a Four Seasons or a Ritz-Carlton to see what the experience is like. How does that other half live, right? And there's something in a 5-star hotel called the concierge. And the job of the concierge is to meet your every need. You want theater tickets in New York City, Chicago? The concierge can get you good theater tickets. You want a reservation to that restaurant that you can never get a reservation to? The concierge, more often than not, can help you out and amaze you. You forgot your cufflinks and you're going to a wedding. Guess what? The concierge is going to help you out. As a matter of fact, one of the most amazing things they did with the Ritz-Carlton is they empowered every employee with $2,000 to solve any client's problem. Why am I talking about 5-star service and concierge service? Because that's become the standard today for law firms. If you don't have 5-star service, how are you going to get 5-star Google reviews, right? The most important source of leads for every business is referrals. Referrals from past clients. If they don't have 5-star experiences, they're not going to refer you to their friends. And also referring attorneys and court reporters and investigators. If their friends and family get hurt and you guys are disorganized, and when they see behind the window that you're not a 5-star operations type of law firm, you're not even going to get those friends and family recommendations from the folks who work with you. So you want to have, the 5-star Google experience from the minute they call your firm to whenever they have a problem with the concierge, and right through to the resolution of their case. And that's going to get you the 5-star Google reviews and those, very important referrals. So one of the tools that we recommend, or two different tools, is a customer app. And these are relatively new in the marketplace. This one's called Case Status, and this one's called Hona. And they've been around for 3, 4, 5 years, but they're really coming of age, meaning they're working really, really well. And what these tools do, and a few other ones like them, is they tap into your case management software. And when a customer asks a question, they have an answer for them. And they also have a proactive program of communicating to customers. And this is so important because the number one complaint to bar associations about law firms is, I don't know the status of my case. My lawyer doesn't get back to me. So how do you prevent that? Well, we're all used to, as consumers, and particularly the younger consumers, are very used to using apps when they would deal with companies. You want to call an Uber? You don't call Uber. You call up on your app. You want Uber Eats? Same thing, right? And so many things we use today, from Netflix all the way through, we're very, very comfortable using an app on our phone. So these companies get a very high percentage of engagement with folks who will, when they sign a new customer, they sign them onto the app. And then the other thing that's great is it prevents a lot of phone calls. And this is why we're so bullish at 10 Golden Rules, is about half the phone calls that come in and people clicking on Google Maps and SEO and pay-per-click, and you're actually paying for the calls from existing customers because they're calling in, and we hear the recordings. We listen to these calls to help coach our clients. Half the time it's existing customers, and they're trying to track their lawyer down. Did you get my MRI? Did you get it to the doctor? When am I going to see the doctor? When am I going to get my check? Right? You know those phone calls that come in all the time. So here's some slides from Case Status that talk about the value of the apps. So, first of all, it gives the customer immediate value, immediate trust. You can get the thing branded, and 80% of the people start using it. It stops folks from using email and SMX, and there's a big problem because that leads to security breaches. It has AI-powered translation. So the customers can ask question in any language. and your staff's going to get it in the language they want to use. So you got happy staff, happy clients, and you've got recordings in both languages, means happy firms. You get AI powered responses. So when the customer asks a question, the AI writes a response. It doesn't respond, but it is available for the paralegal to click yes and respond, or the paralegal can send it to the lawyer, or the paralegal could rewrite it him or herself. Again, happy staff with less interaction. It can be completely branded for your firm. And here's my buddy Ben Leader using case status. And we just shot a bunch of videos with another one of our clients. So you shoot a bunch of videos to explain the steps in a case, and then they can just automatically be sent out to the clients. So all the tools you need to stay on task, stage updates, checklists, document scanning, and everything, video logs are all available in these tools. So we highly recommend them for 5-star operations. Now, once you do a good job on the cases, we've come up with something at 10 Golden Rules to contribute to those 5-star reviews and those 5-star referrals. And we call it our VIP program or our Inner Circle program. And we used to recommend to folks to have pizza parties with their clients, with any of their clients who sent a referral, and just have a buffet for pizza or Golden Corral. Give out a bunch of merchandise. Actually, it was Ken Hardison who shared that tip with me. And while they're there, we would ask the folks to do a 5-star Google review. Now, during COVID, we couldn't host any pizza parties. We're just actually getting back to pizza parties for some of our clients. But we came up with this gift box, the VIP box, or you can call it your Inner Circle. And this is one from Stewart and Stewart, our client in Carmel and Indianapolis, Indiana. And the way we do it is the paralegals have an incentive program to get Google reviews. So for every 5-star Google review, they get a restaurant gift certificate. And after 1 month, they can still try and get the reviews, but after 1 month, Stewart and Stewart sends a list over to us of the clients who didn't do, the happy clients, got a good resolution, have had 1 month, haven't done a Google review, and we send them these gift boxes. Here's actually a real copy of this gift box. And inside the gift box is, some licensed merchandise, a pen, some other logoed apparel, different things for the car or whatever. And then we have these VIP cards where they can, if any of their friends or family get injured, they can give them the VIP card to get directly to us. And we include a Starbucks gift card or a Dunkin' Donuts gift card. Now, we call up on behalf of the firm and we explain, you want to open this box. There's some great stuff in there. There's a Starbucks gift card. And then once they're super happy and they're so proud to be part of, the Stewart and Stewart Inner Circle or the VIP Club, then we ask them to do a 5-star Google review. And hey, would you be so kind if I just text you the link? Can you quickly do a Google review? And we walk them through how to do it and what to say. Works like a charm. So again, as I mentioned earlier, our goal is to get 1 to 2 new Google reviews every week. The 6th hottest strategy for law firms is masterminds. And again, I'll quote Tony Robbins, success leaves clues. Who are the most successful firms that I meet? They're always in masterminds. They're always quoting their mastermind. They're always coming up with new strategies and tactics. Hey, Jay, what do you think about this? We heard about this call center. We heard about this lead gen company. What do you think? Oh, where'd you hear about that? Oh, from my mastermind. A few of the guys in the group are using it and they're killing it. Well, success leaves clues. If all the top firms are in masterminds, why aren't you all in masterminds, right? So if you haven't checked it out, I'll explain what it is. As a matter of fact, it's also been super powerful for me, and I'll tell you my own story with masterminds. So the power of masterminds, the concept was first mentioned by Napoleon Hill in his book, The Law of Success, and then described in more detail in the 1937 book, Think and Grow Rich. I happen to have my copy here. It's right at the top because I refer people to this all the time. But this book you see is like folded back. There's notes. There's clips in there because I've read that book, pretty much every year for the last 25 years since my aunt referred me to it. But the concept of the mastermind is just one of many concepts in the book. A mastermind is a peer-to-peer mentoring group. used to help members solve problems with input and advice from the other group members. So typically you're going to get in a group of people whose business are at a similar stage, and then you're going to coach each other in different ways. And I'll talk about that. Now, the story behind Napoleon Hill, he was hired by Andrew Carnegie, who was one of the first billionaires. Like if you adjust the dollars from that time to this time, and the secret of his success was traced to the sum total of the minds of his business associates, according to Napoleon Hill's read on it. But basically, Napoleon Hill went to interview him for a magazine, and Carnegie said, "Hey, I'll give you another project. Will you write a book? I'll introduce you to my super successful and wealthy friends, and I want you to sum up why they're successful." Because he knew a lot of people who were smarter than his band of merry men, but those folks didn't have the success. So he wanted to give people the opportunity to learn from Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, Andrew Carnegie, Rockefeller, right? All the first billionaires of their day, now in adjusted dollars, right? Tony Robbins quotes Jim Rome, says, "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." I'm sure you've heard this before. So why don't you give yourself an opportunity to hang out with some super successful people 2 or 3 times a year at a retreat or a mastermind? Now, the first one that I got involved with was Vistage. And Vistage is not specific to law firms. Basically, they'll get someone from 15 different industries. And the way it works is you meet once a month with the full group, and then you meet once a month with your Vistage coach. I think they're called a chairman. And typically it's someone who's had a successful exit from one or more businesses. They're semi-retired, and they just want to help other businesses and make a few bucks on the side. And so they run these Vistage groups. Now, I first met these groups because I was being asked to speak about the 10 golden rules of internet marketing and explain the early days of digital marketing to these business executives. And then I got involved in a Vistage group. It wasn't exactly a Vistage group. It was a group that had broken off and formed their own group. And I got to hang out with 15 other successful business owners, and we coached each other. So every day, or once a month, we would have a speaker talking about something like internet marketing or investments or hiring or the economy. And they'd bring in an expert every month. And that would take place in the morning, and we'd grill the expert on whatever their topic was. And then in the afternoon, one of the business owners would take the hot seat. We'd share our financials, any problems we had, and the group would coach us through those problems. Another group of masterminds I've been very successful with, this one was called the International Society of Online Entrepreneurs. And some of the early biggest names in internet marketing were in this group. And the one time they were looking for a quote in one of the national publications, and she couldn't remember the name. So the journalist said, "I'll just call you guys the Hot Shots." So we became known as the Hot Shots. Another group I've been involved with for many years is the Internet Old Timers Foundation. And these all have different formats where you get together either at industry conferences or separate retreats, and we all mastermind and hot seat together. Another group is called Strategic Forum, which is a CEO group that I've been involved with. But these have been very, very successful for my business. And most recently, I joined a group about 6 years ago called 7-Figure Agency. And there's another subset of us called the Titans, which are multiple 7-figure agencies. And basically, we get together about 3 times a year. We have a lot of educational content. So in the live events, we all speak from stage and share new things that we're working on. There's a couple Facebook groups. So there's one for the general group, one for the Titans. But some groups will use a listserv, whether they just do question and answers on lists, or a LinkedIn group, or another group, uses WhatsApp. And then typically there's a hot seat. So we'll meet for a full day after the regular big conference, and everybody gets about half an hour to bring one problem we have in our business. And everyone in the mastermind, 20 or 30 of the smartest people in my industry will help me solve a problem I have. There's the live events. And there's a lot of what I call give to get, where everyone in the group is super smart and we're all working in one niche. So we don't mind sharing with everybody who don't compete directly with us in our business. So the masterminds are super, super effective. So I highly recommend you check out some of the legal masterminds if you haven't. Great Legal Marketing the conference is coming up in DC in October. I'm going to be speaking there, and it's a great place to meet a bunch of folks who are in masterminds. It's run by Ben and Brian Glass, father and son. They're awesome. Highly recommend it. I mentioned Ken Hardison from Pilma earlier, and they do an annual conference in the spring. We also participate in that conference, and they run a bunch of great masterminds at different levels. So Great Legal Marketing is for firms under $1 million. Pilma has groups for under $1 million, $1 million to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 and above. Some new groups. Mike Morris was a speaker at our conference, TGR Live, last year, and he wrote a book called Fireproof. I'm sure many of you have heard of it. And he runs a couple masterminds now under the Fireproof brand. And Bill Biggs, also a TGR Live speaker, is helps coach the law firms. Two great minds, and John Knockhazel is with Mike at his law firm, and the three of them are great. And then Rob Levine, a super successful, super brilliant attorney, also runs masterminds. So I highly recommend checking out some of those if you're interested. Again, sum it up. There's you typically do one-to-ones with your coach. So I have a one-to-one with my coach every month. Then you do the group meetings. Generally, they're 10 or 15. There's a lot of great content, a lot of great brainstorming, and the hot seats are super powerful. So we do one a month virtually on a Zoom meeting, and you bring a problem you have. I had an issue with sales yesterday, and my group coached me on that. And then there's also an online community. So either a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group where you can just ask little questions. Hey, has anybody used this software? Has anybody used this vendor? And you'll typically get 4 or 5 answers really, really quickly that help you make a decision. And number 6 is masterminds. Number 7 is operating systems. I'm going to talk today about the EOS operating system from the best-selling book Traction by Gino Wickman. I'm also a big fan of Mastering the Rockefeller Habits and Scaling Up. And Vern Harnish has a system called Scaling Up. There's another one I'm not personally familiar with, but I've heard a lot of law firms are using The Great Game of Business. And so number 7, the 7th hottest strategy for law firms, is operating systems. And we love the EOS operating system. And the book I mentioned is called Traction. But if you're the founder of your firm, I actually recommend Get a Grip. And that's a similar thing that explains the EOS operating system, but it's told in the form of a case study, of a story. It's a parable, if you will. And it's one of the first clients that Gino Wickman had, and it tells the story. So I actually recommend Get a Grip for most of the folks who are going to be listening to this, because typically it's the founder of the firm or the visionary who does this kind of thing, who is out there trying to improve the firm. And then the operator, if you have a partner who's more in the day-to-day operations, who's the trial attorney, who's the chief operating officer, typically that person should read Traction because it's a little bit more detailed. But anyways, most of us had this experience where we read Traction, couldn't quite get through it, tried again. There's 400,000 firms now using EOS. So I kept hearing about it, and so many attorneys are using it, and so many people in my 7-figure agency Mastermind are using EOS. So I then read Get a Grip, and then it came through. I got it. I got a grip, and I got the software, and then I started integrating the program. And what we did to launch it is everybody in the company read the basic book, which is called What the Heck is EOS? And so we read a chapter a month in a book club, and then we started launching the program. So the first thing we did is we did a soft launch where we started using some of the parts of the program. And then in January of 2024, we hired a full-time integrator. So a full-time implementer. And that's someone who's licensed by the EOS companies, and they come in and walk you through how to use the program. So just give me a quick E in the chat if you're running on the EOS operating system. And so here's how we got started with EOS. We started using some of the tools. So we started having a version of L10 meetings, which are EOS calls the level 10 meetings. But basically what you do is every week, your leadership team follows the same agenda, and it's a really, really effective agenda. You share good news, then you go through the scorecard, rock review, you just report on are you on schedule with your handling your big projects, some customer employee headlines, your to-dos, your IDSs. And IDS is another great thing where anything that comes up in the business, if there's something I think we need to talk about with the leadership team, we IDS it. Identify, discuss, and solve. So we clearly identify the issue. Like so many times you go to meetings and nothing ever gets done. And 2 weeks later, you're talking about the same thing. Well, using IDS, things get solved. But the most powerful thing about EOS is everybody knows the terminology. And now everybody from the company is marching to the beat of the same drummer. The EOS scorecard. So we go through a scorecard and, everyone's responsible for one of these numbers. So maybe Caitlin reports on website visits. Cortez is telling us how many calls, how many chats, forms, how many referrals, how many signed clients, how many Google reviews, and our Google star rating. So I'll quote Josh again, what you measure gets attention and improves. Every week we're looking at the most important numbers in what we call a scorecard. We've defined our EOS core values. So 10 golden rules is fun and easy. We tell a joke of the week, like we told a joke today in the webinar. So we just start out with a little laugh with our clients, and then we also want to be easy to deal with. We want to make it easy. If our customers have a request, we're going to get back to them with a timeline and details, and make it super easy to deal with us. Expect excellence. Everybody in the company has to hold themselves to a high level of excellence, and also we expect excellence of our vendors and even our clients. If there's a problem, we expect our employees to own it and solve it. And we always want to introduce the leading trends. Like today, we're introducing some new strategies around AEO and intake and things like that. And a lot of our new product introductions, like TGR Boomerang, come from this R&D, research and development department, where we want to be ahead of the leading trends in our industry. Here's an example for a law firm. My buddies over at Daniel Stark, they live and breathe their core values: work hard, play hard, do it all, do it right, do it now. Sounds a little bit like own it and solve it, right? Arms out, thumbs up, like that one, and be remarkable. That's a great slogan. Actually, I think Seth Godin talked about that in Purple Cow. Don't only be good, be remarkable. Like so good that people would talk about you, would remark about you to their friends. And then another thing in EOS is you develop a proven process. So over the past 23 years, we developed what we call our TGR law firm growth formula. And we wrote it down and we scripted it out with EOS, EOS guideline. So our first part of the law firm growth formula is to attract. And we believe we attract clients better than 3 times the national average. We work on positioning with the firms. And then we also work on conversion. We talked about our AI conversion strategy and TGR Boomerang that takes the leads you miss and sends them to your intake department. And then we also work closely with our firm on 5-star operations. We write an annual strategic plan. We work on best practice operations, and we have different programs to get 5-star reviews and referrals. So that's our proven process. Here's Daniel Starks. They start with a free case evaluation, evidence collection, medical care, full case evaluation, case resolution, and compensation. And, if you click on these buttons, you walk through the proven process designed to protect you. So basically what you're doing is you're writing down your process, and there's a lot of SOPs, standard operating procedures in EOS. So everything we do, we document, we make sure everybody on the team is trained, and if they do something wrong, we can go back to the documented training or the checklist or the process that's written down. Another piece of EOS is VTO, the Vision Traction Organizer. So we've got our 1-year plan, our issues list, our core values, our 3-year picture, and this is what we generally focus on in our quarterly meetings. And finally is our quarterly rocks, and we've been doing rocks actually for about 10 years because I think that term originally came from mastering the Rockefeller habits. But essentially what we do every quarter is we brainstorm and we come up with our company's top 5 rocks, big picture projects that are going to solve a problem or promote something we're really good at in the company. So here was our top 5 rocks for Q1, and it was to hire a social media manager. So Brianna was charged with that, and we were going to hire our first full-time social media manager back in 2021. We were going to do a new website to focus on law. So we had, for a couple of years, been saying we specialize in only working with lawyers. Now, 5 years later, we only work with lawyers. But we said it on our, when we needed a website that would be focused. Maria took that project. Defining roles and responsibilities went to Laura. Repositioned 10 Golden Rules as law firm strategy in addition to digital. So we've talked a lot about that today. It was my job. And we opened our second office in Atlanta. So that was up to Laura. And so we successfully hired Diamond, our social media manager. It took more than 3 months. So the rocks are supposed to be quarterly, but we got started and we took about 4 to 5 months to get the new website up, focused on law. Our clearly defined roles and responsibilities went into a software called ClickUp. And we developed our positioning to not only focus on internet marketing for law firms, but also growth strategies for law firms, the other things we're talking about here today. And finally, we got the Atlanta office open where Laura worked out of. Next thing is something called the People Analyzer. So this is a great tool for making sure that we got the right people in the right seat. So there's a RPRS audit you do. And, a lot of times, like we recently had someone who maybe wasn't the fit for her current job, but she was the right person. She fit our core values. So what you do is you look at the core values first, and then you say, do they get it? Do they get the job? Do they want the job? Do they have the capacity for the job? And a lot of times if someone's not doing a great job, it's a part of all 3 things. So EOS, just to get started, I'd recommend reading Get a Grip. Or if you're the operations partner in your firm or literally the COO, you should read Traction. And then you can start defining your core values, having level 10 meetings, keeping a scorecard. And some of these things I recommend starting, if you're just, crawl, walk, run. If you just want to get started, have a weekly meeting with the same agenda, read up on the level 10 agenda, do quarterly rocks, and start solving big problems, assign each problem to one person, and get those done every quarter. So there we are, the 7 hottest strategies for law firm growth. Number 1, AEO, Answer Engine Optimization. So a little twist on SEO, search engine optimization. Number 2, super hot is video. I don't know about you, but when I look at my YouTube now, there's always a great video recommended for me. It's going to be about marketing. It's going to be about my hockey team or my football team. Like YouTube knows what I like to watch, and they show me more stuff in the categories I like to watch. Number 3 is conversion optimization. So don't fall for the Morgan & Morgan trick. And I didn't mention that earlier, but Morgan & Morgan put a huge form on the homepage of their website. And a lot of clients are coming to me. They're like, Jay, Morgan & Morgan put a form on their website. We want to put a form on our website. Well, trust me, we've tested it over and over. If you're Morgan & Morgan and you spend $450 million on advertising and someone fills out your form, they sit there and wait by the phone for Morgan & Morgan to call them back. If you're anyone other than Morgan & Morgan, and maybe if you're one of the top advertisers in your market, you can get away with it. But if you're anyone else, you want people to call you. So when they go to your website, when they go to your social media, you want to get a phone call, not a form fill. The other things we have under conversion optimization is our AI product that we created that's analyzing the calls and doing training for your intake team. Be happy to show you how that works. And our TGR Boomerang, if you miss a call, you immediately get a text, or if someone fills out a form, your intake team gets a text. You can follow up on that lead. We talked about the importance of focusing on your brand, and you don't have Morgan's budget, but if you pick what you stand for and you develop a brand book and a brand slogan and the colors, and you consistently deliver your brand in your marketplace, you'll be recognized like twice as highly as if you don't consistently deliver a message. Delivering 5-star operations. So we talked about testing out case status or HONA and our VIP kits and our VIP parties. Highly recommend you joining a mastermind. And last but not least, using an operating system like EOS. Quick request for you, if you made it this far and you like this stuff, would you like me to share this presentation with your bar association or your trial lawyers group, or any other group that you're involved with? So I have a goal for the next year. I want to speak at several bar associations. So I'd love it if you'd make an introduction to your local group. And if your traffic's down, that's why we do these things. We want to help you out. And the first thing is we'll give you a free audit, a free report. We'll show you how you're doing locally. Are you ranking number 1, 2, 3 in the Google Maps? We'll show you your website performance. This is an SEO report. We call it Falling Off the Google Cliff. And this firm had 1,600 keywords on the first 2 pages of Google. They're down to 500 keywords. So if you feel like you're falling off the Google cliff, give us a chat right now, or come to 10goldenrules.com, or find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. And with that, I'll be happy to take some questions. We are using a new software today, so I'm not exactly sure how it works, but love it. Be happy to answer any questions. Chat support. That's not what I need. Mic speaker react, raise, script, stop, mic. If Carmen or Elizabeth are out there, maybe they can tell me where to find the chats. Or if you can see the chats, you can send them to me. Just text them to me or Slack them to me. I see people on the right side. Chats. There's 26 of them. Okay. Thank you, folks. All right. Okay. Aaron asked, will this be available for download? Yeah. All of these go on our YouTube channel, so it will be available. David said, what was the percentage of click-to-call versus dialed calls? Click-to-call versus dialed calls. I guess that's a question about the Google products, like in Google advertising, Google pay per click. You can do click-to-call. And I don't know that percentage, but what I can tell you is we focus our campaigns to get as many phone calls as we can. So we don't want clicks, we want calls. So as I said earlier, and we saw in one of the reports, typically 20 to 25% of phone calls you can sign up as a client. Once you get them on the phone and you find out it's a good fit, you can send them a DocuSign, or even if they're in the hospital, you're going to send an investigator right out to meet them. Or if it's a big enough case, the attorney gets in his car and immediately goes to the hospital, right? So you want as many phone calls as you can. So what's the percentage of click to call versus dialed calls? Dialed calls would be more of a function of they go to your website, they see the phone number and they dial it in. But I'm sorry, I don't know the percentage. Phone calls rule, says TV. Whoever TV is, thanks for coming out. Great. Thanks for the info. New software is working great. Good to hear. You need to have 24 hours service to get LSA opportunities. Question from CW. You can type your names in, by the way, because it just comes through as TV and CW. You do not need to have 24-hour service to get LSAs, but we recommend it. And I can recommend a couple call centers, Smith AI, Go Answer, and some others. But I'd highly recommend having that 24-hour service because you'll get a larger percentage of the LSAs that are available in your marketplace. Cynthia loved the presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here, Cynthia. Christy, watching from YouTube, asked, with Google, Bing, and now ChatGPT integrating AI results, what's your strategy to get your website featured in these new AI-powered search engines? I think that is that first section of the presentation we talked about. You want to answer questions in your SEO. So basically what we do is we'll say, the attorney will record a video and say, one of the questions I'm getting asked all the time is, what do I do when I get hit by an Uber? And then he'll go on to answer the question. And then we optimize that video. We put it on YouTube. Then we take the YouTube video and we write a page all about that. I showed a couple of examples today where the video goes inherent on the website. It's a YouTube video, so everybody can watch it. Like YouTube took care of the software and the streaming. And then we explain the video in the clip. We explain the answer to the question. So how do you get listed in these new answer engines? You answer questions and you do a great job. In the blog, we're going to put the answer right at the very top of the page. And then you go and answer questions on other answer engines like Reddit and Quora and become an expert. And that's kind of the second part of it. Are there specific Google tools are featured, e.g. Google Business Profile, local service ads that law firms underutilize? A good question. What would I say are the most underutilized? Google Business Profile is underutilized. A lot of people just set it up once and forget it. You should add content to your Google Business Profile every week. We treat it like the SEO platform that it is, because frankly, Google Business Profile or your Google Maps listing, it's like a mini website that you lease from Google. And if you do everything right, you keep ownership of it. If you get fake reviews or something, Google might pull that from you. If you have a fake address and you're not really at a physical address, Google Maps is designed for people to use the navigation feature to get to that location. So you can't go afoul of any of Google's best practices, rules, and terms of engagement or whatever. But if you have, if you think of that mini website, if you do a Google search today, you're going to see an AI answer, then you're going to see Google Maps, then you're going to see SEO. Well, Google Maps is they're going to pick the top 3 based off of an SEO algorithm. And so the SEO algorithm is closely linked to the regular SEO algorithm, the organic results, the free SEO. So having lots of reviews, having highly rated 5-star reviews, having your Google profile updated, creating all the practice areas in that Google profile, updating, making sure everywhere throughout the internet, your Google profile is, your Google address, phone number, and name is consistent. There's a whole bunch of SEO we do around local and the Google Business Profile. So all of that stuff is rarely done by firms unless they have a top-notch agency. Local service ads, the biggest mistake I see with local service ads is a lot of people gave up. They had a bad month or two. Well, guess what? Like last October, November, when they changed to AI and they took away the ability to dispute a bad lead, and they let the AI do it, it upset the apple cart, right? Like some people who didn't get very many LSAs got a lot of LSAs, and some people who were getting the local service ads, Google screen leads, they went away. Well, come back, give it another try, because so many people gave up too early, And if you follow the secret algorithm we talked about, you're going to do well in the LSAs. What would I say is one of the, I'm just trying to think of something, video. I can't tell you how many prospects I meet, and we look at their YouTube page, and they did 10 videos 4 years ago, and they think that's a video strategy. What we do is a minimum of one video per week for our clients. Question from Scott. Great presentation. Thank you, Scott. Olga, do you recommend using a corporate account to become an expert on Reddit? If yes, how would you do that without getting blocked very quickly? I actually recommend doing an individual account if you can. And I mentioned earlier that the individual is being seen as an expert through Reddit and Quora and YouTube video, more than the company. It might change, but today there's more opportunity for Jay Berkowitz to become an expert in the answer engines than 10 Golden Rules. There's more opportunity for Wayne Holcomb than Holcomb Law Firm. So recommend that. And with that, I think we're out of time, out of questions. Hopefully the new technology worked great. It should be much clearer on the rebroadcasts and the little videos. So anyways, great. Thank you all for being here. This was a lot of fun today, a lot of new stuff for me. And any questions, just don't hesitate to reach out to us at 10 Golden Rules. We'll be happy to do an audit for you, as I mentioned. And I look forward to seeing everyone next month. Next month, we're going to have a case study with Jeff McDonald. And you saw the amazing results Jeff had. And the month after that, we're going to have a technology panel with some of the newest technologies, some brand new things that I didn't even share here today. So look forward to seeing you on upcoming podcasts and webinars. And with that, have a great day. And if you're watching this sometime in like 2028, just give me a ping back on social media and let me know you enjoyed it today. Thanks so much.